I'm Stacy Scholder, USC Annenberg professor and director of Annenberg Television News. I'm here to present the award for outstanding local news reporting on the integrity of the 2020 presidential election. The award goes to Maritsa Georgiou of NBC, Montana, for her reporting on the removal of blue mailboxes across the state by the U.S. Postal Service. In a pandemic election year particularly reliant on voting by mail, the U.S. Postmaster General implemented nationwide policies whose effect was to gum up and slow down mail delivery. The Cronkite judges said that when he put those measures on hold, Maritsa Georgiou clearly had a hand in it. Her dogged reporting for this Sinclair-owned station broke the story of mailbox removal in Montana, especially in Democratic areas. The judges said, quote, "She shined a light on practices that could have disenfranchised Montanans. Her reporting rippled across the country, prompting more coverage and ultimately bringing about change." Let's watch a clip of Maritsa Georgiou's reporting.
A new twist as we work for you, uncovering what's really going on at the U.S. Postal Service. And last week, we helped break the story about Montana collection boxes and sorting machines taken offline. And now we've got new photos to back up what sources are telling us. NBC Montana's Maritsa Georgiou gets us up to speed.
Yeah, we have newly leaked photos of dismantled USPS machines in Montana. A postal worker who wants to stay anonymous says this is a disassembled DBCS sorting machine in a Montana USPS plant. They say the stackers are waiting to be sent to other facilities. My source says this photo is a disassembled AFCS 100 in Missoula that is being discarded. It basically cancels stamps and faces mail. And they say they're supposed to get an upgrade, but it's unclear when. And they worry their remaining machine will go down before that comes. There have been mixed reports on whether these machines or any removed blue collection boxes will be put back. As far as those boxes, this isn't the first time they've been removed. I found this article from 2009 in the Washington Post, which said 200,000 boxes had been removed since 1989. It said they were underperforming and received fewer than 25 pieces of mail each day. That's what the USPS said about the latest round of planned removals. But remember on Monday when we showed you these Missoula documents questioning the density tests that determine how much mail goes through a box. A postal carrier said they were told not to count all the mail during a test and showed proof that several boxes did not meet the USPS threshold for removal. And scammers got to work quickly on this. The reason I found that Washington Post article is because a picture from it was ripped off for this Craigslist post in Bozeman, offering one of the recently removed Montana blue boxes up for $50, an extra 10 for delivery. So again, I reached out to reps with the USPS for comment on all of this and heard back Thursday afternoon saying they can't comment in light of the Postmaster General's testimony before Congress in the next week. Reporting in Missoula, Maritsa Georgiou, NBC Montana.
Here is Maritsa Georgiou accepting her award.
It's quite something as a broadcast journalist to see your name in the same sentence as Walter Cronkite's and to also see it on this list of other outstanding recipients who I admire. It feels incredibly humbling because as honored as I am to receive this award, it doesn't really feel like it's my name that belongs here. For starters, I am quite certain I would not be here without Rachel Maddow and everyone else who amplified this story's reach. I want to personally thank Rachel for sharing this story on Twitter early that day, expanding that reach across the country, helping to put pressure on the USPS to put a hold on this policy. I also need to thank Montana's congressional delegation, which unanimously stepped up to write letters. But this really belongs to the brave postal union leaders who risked their livelihoods to leak me the documents needed to make this story what it became. They're the heroes in this, sharing the addresses, lists, and even photos of disassembled sorting machines. If I could somehow physically share this award with them, I would. In a year when it was easy to feel inadequate, burned out, and isolated, this story reminded me just how important our work is, especially at the local level. And it was an example that illustrated, yes, Twitter can actually be used for good and not evil. I never knew my tweets that day would become what they did, but it was because of the growing audience of people sharing real-time feedback, encouragement, and questions that pushed me to keep going, keep digging, keep sharing. because it was a reminder that our work really does matter and can be a catalyst for dramatic change. I was raised by a mother who taught me to stand up against injustice and inequities when I see them, and to look for ways to make a difference and find solutions. It's that kind of public service journalism that gets me out of bed in the morning, and I'm so thankful for the privilege of doing this every single day. I want to thank my mom, my loving and supportive husband and son who put up with my just terrible schedule and constant phone use. I also want to thank the Norman Lear Center at the USC Annenberg School for Communication and Journalism, the incredible journalism program at the University of Montana, and my team at NBC Montana. Lastly, I can't go without mentioning my grandfather. He was a TV meteorologist who also produced documentaries, including one on the first 50 years of television. That documentary not only featured Mr. Cronkite, but also Mr. Lear. My grandfather passed away last year, but I know this award and its many connections back to him is putting one heck of a smile on his face. Thank you so much for this incredible honor.
I had a chance to talk with Maritsa about covering the U.S. Postal Service mailbox removal that you can watch at cronkiteawards.org. Here's a clip from our conversation.
It first hit my radar from the office of Senator Jon Tester. His office sent out a release that just kind of mentioned reports. There was nothing, substantiated. There were no details. They said they've heard reports that this is happening and just in a couple towns in Montana. And he had preemptively written the Postmaster General to ask more questions about this. So we took that email from reports just in Montana, and it just kind of snowballed into this much larger thing. And getting documents and getting confirmation from local postal union leaders. And we had no idea how big it was.
Right. And that's interesting. You mentioned the postal workers. It can be challenging to get government workers to talk to reporters. So can you talk a little bit about gaining the trust of postal workers?
Yeah, well, I really think it's time and time in your own communities. I really think this is a story that just is such a great example of why local news matters. You're in your community, you're building those relationships, and you're showing people that they can trust you with sensitive information and to not burn them, because they really put their lives on the line sending me some of these documents. And so I really think it's that time, and also just being engaged, and not just being engaged when you need something, but being engaged when you don't need something. That's a really important lesson I learned early on in my career. And so it was wonderful that they trusted me with this information. The funny thing is I had already set up an interview with one of the local postal service workers. We were going to start looking at delays and possible ramifications in Montana because of new policies that were being enacted, such as having trucks leave, even if all the mail wasn't collected, those kinds of things. And it was just perfect timing that this email came down from Senator Tester's office the night before I had already had that interview scheduled.
Interesting. Well, also the governor obviously got involved as well. Do you think that your reporting played a role in Governor Steve Bullock's decision to sue the Postmaster General?
Yeah, I do, mostly because they used my reporting as an example in the filing. And so, it was wonderful to see so many different things grow off of this first initial report. And we're still talking about it. There are still things I'm digging into on this, because it was a really important issue for a lot of people, and something that they could see and was tangible in front of them, not just something happening behind the scenes, but they could see the blue boxes and say, well, we don't want that to go away.